Q8027. Before each takeoff, the pilot in command of an aircraft carrying passengers shall ensure that all passengers have been orally briefed on the a. Location of normal and emergency exits, oxygen masks, and life preservers. b. Use of safety belts, location and operation of fire extinguishers, and smoking. c. Use of seat belts, smoking, and location and use of survival equipment. The correct answer is B. Use of safety belts, location and operation of fire extinguishers, and smoking. Before each takeoff, the pilot in command is responsible for ensuring that all passengers have been orally briefed on these important safety procedures. This briefing helps to ensure that passengers are aware of how to properly use safety equipment and understand the necessary safety measures during the flight. Q8028. Before takeoff, the pilot in command of an aircraft carrying passengers shall ensure that all passengers have been orally briefed on the normal and emergency use of oxygen. A. If the flight involves operations above 12,000 feet MSL. B. Regardless of the altitude at which the flight will operate. C. If the flight involves operations at or above 12,000 feet MSL for more than 30 minutes. The correct answer is A. If the trip involves activities above 12,000 feet MSL, the pilot in command must make sure that all passengers have received an oral briefing on how to utilize oxygen normally and in an emergency before each takeoff. Q8029. The oral before-flight briefing required on passenger-carrying aircraft shall be A. Supplemented by an actual demonstration of emergency exit door operation by a crew member. B. Presented by the pilot in command or another flight crew member, as a crew member demonstrates the operation of the emergency equipment. C. Conducted by a crew member or the pilot in command, and supplemented by printed cards for. The correct answer is C. The use of each passenger. The oral before-flight briefing required on passenger-carrying aircraft should be conducted by a crew member or the pilot in command. This briefing should cover important safety information and procedures that passengers need to be aware of during the flight. It is also supplemented by printed cards, often located in the seat pocket in front of each passenger, that provide visual instructions and guidance on emergency procedures and the use of safety equipment. Q8034. A commuter air carrier certificate holder plans to assign a pilot as pilot in command of an aircraft having 8 passenger seats to be used in passenger-carrying operations. Which experience requirement must that pilot meet if the aircraft is to be flown with an operative-approved autopilot and no second in command? A. 100 hours as pilot in command in the category, class, and type. B. 50 hours and 10 landings as pilot in command in the make and model. C. 100 hours as pilot in command in the make and model. The correct answer is C. In passenger-carrying commuter airline operations, an autopilot may be used in place of a second in command if the pilot in command has at least 100 hours of PIC experience in the make and model of the aircraft. Q8035. Which is a condition that must be met by a commuter air carrier certificate holder to have an aircraft approved for operation with an autopilot system and no second in command. A. The passenger seating configuration is 10 or more, including any pilot seat. B. The autopilot system is capable of operating the controls to maintain flight and to maneuver the aircraft about the 3 axes. C. The operation is restricted to VFR or VFR over the top. The correct answer is B. According to 14 CFR Part 135.243, B. 3. I. A commuter air carrier certificate holder must meet the following conditions to have an aircraft approved for operation with an autopilot system and no second in command. The autopilot system must be capable of operating the controls to maintain flight and to maneuver the aircraft about the 3 axes. The autopilot system must be approved by the FAA for use in the aircraft. The pilot in command must have at least 10 hours of pilot in command experience in the make and model of aircraft and 5 takeoffs and landings. The FAA requires these conditions to ensure that the autopilot system is capable of safely operating the aircraft and that the pilot in command is familiar with the aircraft and the autopilot system. The passenger seating configuration is not a factor in determining whether an aircraft can be operated with an autopilot system and no second in command. The operation is not restricted to VFR or VFR over the top.